I know that the beautiful Matthew Vaughn, when he said when he was making this movie, when it came to yourself and Michael Fassbender, he said, I wasn't trying to cast the young Patrick and Ian, I was trying to cast the young Magneto and Professor X, and I guess that hopefully gave you freedom then to bring something of what you wanted, like a fresh canvas idea, rather than
totally. It was really important not to just mimic the performances of those two, not because they weren't good performances, not because they're not fantastic actors, but because there's no point in making this film if we're just going to do the same performances with different costumes, and as nice as 60s costume as well. It was really important to show that they started in a very different place, so that we just have a big story to tell to get them to Sir Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart. And that was the joy of it for me. So I got to look at Sir Patrick's performance and say, all right, he's chaste, I'll be Randy. He's sober, I'll be drunk. He's wise, I'll be silly. Do you know what I mean? And start in a very, very different sort of personal location, you know.
I know that it's kind of been done well before, like with Star Trek, and I guess you know, you think of this idea of just going back and recreating Batman Begins. For you guys, I don't know if Matthew sort of sat down and said, well, these are the ideas, these are the movies I'd like you to sort of think about, or these are...
No, we weren't really didn't really get any reference. We knew that he wanted to do something with the set design that was evocative of Bond. He wanted to give it a much more European feel in terms of its locations and also its cast as well. And that was it, really. It wasn't. We weren't really kind of pointed towards watch this movie or watch that movie for like what we're thinking about doing. There was a lot of talk. There was a lot of sitting around talking about what we'd like from scenes, what scenes we'd like to be liked, what scenes we'd like to be emotionally driven. Because, you know, it's a big action blockbuster summer movie, and it's got all your action and all that, but it needs to have an emotional impact as well at times. Not like huge. It's not like a big heartbreaker or anything like that, but it definitely has to have those scenes where that hits, has to have the scenes where the levity hits, but it also has to have the scenes where you're pole-faced and you take it really seriously and you don't take the mick, you know what I mean? So it was just a lot of chat, really, and plotting what we wanted from each scene.
I know that Hollywood call this, you know, the reboot. I always think reboot is like Hollywood Latin for we're really sorry about the last movie. We're going to try and start again. So I don't know if there was that sense of slightly ripping it up and starting again on the set, and let's just, you know, make our own. I
mean, the truth is it's a prequel, but it's set so far in the past from the original first X-Men movie that it might as well just be a reboot because it's so different. But yeah, maybe it was time after 4 movies. It's definitely time to refresh. It's not that the other movies weren't good, but it's just the fact that you can't keep giving the audience the same thing. You've got to, if you're going to use the X-Men name, you've got to spell a different word with it. Oh wow, how rubbish was that? But you've got to refresh, and I think this movie certainly refreshes the franchise.
It is a kind of a potentially monster franchise. It's September 6th, this particular kind of offshoot of comic book wise for X-Men, and obviously we had Wolverine, and Fox are hoping this will be a trilogy. I guess everyone would have signed up for that idea. But for you, I'm just thinking about your career wise. You know, you're a very well respected actor. You're that balance of making something like, say, The Last Station came straight after Wanted. That I don't know if there's a sort of just a natural organic action reaction. You like the role, or whether you do have to think about at this stage when you're dealing with Hollywood and you're dealing with independent movies, you know, those choices.
There's less. I feel like there are less movies being made at the moment that take any risks. I think, you know, the industry at the moment is scared to spend money unless they feel like it's going to be an actual massive, huge hit. And these movies are generally, weirdly, you have to spend 200 million making them, but they feel safer to the industry at large for some reason. So there's a lot. It feels like there's a lot more of this stuff being made. So partly it's just harder to find the smaller Last Stations, and partly because I'd done a few things of that size over the last wee while and done some theatre. I felt it was time to do something big. I wouldn't just do any old big thing that came along. It would have to be the right thing. And a lot of factors made this the right thing. I really knew I'd have a lot of fun playing the character. I knew I'd like to work with Matthew. I knew when they were talking about casting somebody like Michael that I knew I was going to have an ally. And both sort of personally, professionally and artistically. And I like Michael as well. And it was filming 30 minutes from my front door, so it was all kicking.
Perfect.
I know, it was a no-brainer.
Rock and roll. I'll be giving the friendly finger. Look.